chapter from 15 to 21. So for the introduction, the book was written by Muhammad Hamidullah, a renowned Islamic scholar, historian, and expert in international law. So the book aims to explain the Islamic concept of international relation known as Siyar. It demonstrates that Islam has a comprehensive legal framework governing relations between states, war, peace, diplomacy, and treaties. So these are the chapters that we are going to talk about today. So the 15th chapter is the treatment of prisoners. So next is the choice given to inhabitants of annexed territory. Next is the acts permitted, spies, uniforms, flags of truce, and the last one is the enemy property. So I'm going to pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Alright, next, first we will go to the treatment of the prisoners. Okay, first of all, the first chapter talks about the way the Muslim state has to protect their people that have been captured by their opponent, the prisoners, the Muslim prisoners. Okay, first of all, they must use all their resources to make sure that the prisoner is safe and get back their prisoners. And they must retain humane and dignity for the Muslim prisoners. Okay, next we go to the non-Muslim prisoners that have been captured by the Muslim state. Okay, the most heaviest punishment that can be given to them is beheading, which is generally limited to prisoners that is guilty of high treason and severe crimes. The severe crimes mostly involve crime that is involved by the non-combatant. They do to the non-combatants. Okay, next is enslavement. Enslavement is that the prisoner of war become the slave to one of the Muslim states. Okay, there are three ways for them to gain their freedom. First of all, by the mukataba, which is they bought their freedom through work. Next is they are given fortuitously by their master itself to gain freedom. And lastly, the enemy state bought them back their freedom through ransom. Okay, next chapter 16, we're going to talk about the choice given to the inhabitants of the annexed territory. This is the enemy territory that have been captured by the Islamic state, by the Muslim state. Okay, they are given two options. Whether they will move away, they will be given a grace period for about 1 year to pack their thing and move to their respected territory, or they become the citizens through naturalization. Next is chapter 17. This is the chapter talks about the acts permitted during the war. This is more about the red line that must not be crossed during the war. First of all, the most important thing is the targets. The chapter separated between who is combatant and who is non-combatant. This is the most important thing. Next, they allow the use of deception and propaganda throughout the war. And last but not least, they allow the night attacks with safeguards like watchwords. Watchword is like a signal given to their respective state. For example, during the Prophet Muhammad, they will yell Allahu Akbar during the attack to recognize their allies. That is watchwords. Okay, next is chapter 18. Chapter 18 talks about spies. They are given the definition of the spies as anyone that has obtained and transmit sensitive information to the enemy state. This also from voluntarily or they are being forced to. They also declared as a spy. Okay, there are various punishment regarding their status. Okay, for the spies that have leaked information that is very sensitive and causes death, they will be also given death. While Muslim subjects that may be imprisoned or punished under judicial ruling. This is mainly for the Muslim subject that have been forced. For example, their family has been captured and they are forced to transmit information if they want to keep them safe. Okay, next is chapter 19. Chapter 19 talks about the uniforms. The uniforms, first of all, the most important thing for uniform is distinction between the combatant and non-combatant. Next, uniform to distinguish between both sides, the Muslim states and the enemy states. And they also brought to gain morale and recognition, to gain the sense of fraternity between the army. Alright, for example, during the Prophet Muhammad's time, They wear special clothes during marches, and they use distinctive signs such as, like I said, they yell Allahu Akbar during the Battle of Badr. Alright, next we go to chapter 20, which is the flag of truce. The flag of truce, in other words, which means surrender. Okay, they talk about an ancient time, the raising hand and laying down arms symbolize submission.
Surrender ke ataupun apa?
It's the stop the war.
It's not surrender.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's truce between they try to stop the war. Sorry, wrong information. Sorry about that. Can we see in the Khalifah Ali's era, they coin the term flag of truce, so that they will make a more formalized practice of pausing hostilities between both sides. We can see this in Battle of Siffin when the Muawiyah forces raised Quran copies. When they raised the Quran copies, they compel the opposing army to halt their fighting. Okay, and last chapter is chapter 21. They will talk about after the war, the enemy property and the rewards given to the army. First of all, the enemy property. There are two main properties, which is the state property. This is mainly talking about the land that have been annexed by the Muslim state. Okay, the other authority, their attack on property are treated as offense against the state itself. There are also booty, which is ghanimah. It's a transferable property that can become war booty, and occupation is considered a valid form of ownership. The occupation is talk about the one that doesn't participate directly in the war, such as the engineer department that they created the weapons and such. Okay, next is private property. Private property is when a city fort is stormed. The time of surrender determine the outcomes. For example, in the Battle of Khaybar, the Prophet condition allowing the defeated to keep certain right as part of their generosity. Okay, next is the distribution of the ghanimah, the rewards given to the soldiers and the people who participated in the war. Okay, first of all, it's tanfil. This is the special reward or extra share given to soldiers during or after military operation. This is more towards the combatant that have risked their lives more. For example, the cavalry that stand at the forefront of the war. Okay, next is salab. Salab is personal belonging of an enemy combatant who is skilled in battle, which is included weapon itself. This is the salab. To receive salab, they must declare that they are going to fight to one-on-one. That is the rule. Okay, next is safi.
Macam Tamin Sari lah kot
Dia kalau macam Melayu, dia literally perlawanan antara dua pahlawan tu.
Keris Tamin Sari dapat.
Keris Tamin Sari.
Okay.
Next is safi. Safi is special item or person selected by the leader from the war booty before general distribution. This is a special item personal selected by the leader. This is like the symbol of treaties. And lastly, post liminum or return of things and person captured by the army. This refer to the persons or the property that have been captured by enemy to return to the control of their original Muslim state, or their original legal right is restored. This is more towards the end of the war, where they settle regarding the prisoner of war, whether the Muslim state or the enemy states. Okay, that's all from me. Can go to the next presenter.
So the next part is where we trying to implement the principle of Muslim conduct of state written by Muhammadiyah through the modern case. First case is we use the 1991 Gulf War, where the Iraqis triggered by Kuwait uprising oil price, which dominate the oil market among the Gulf state. The coalition by the US, UK, Saudi Arabia and France joined to push back the Iraqis. So here's I will explain about the correlation of the Muslim conduct of state chapter through the case. First, through the chapter 16, targeting leaders. Under the old rule, the ancient scholars accepting to specifically target the military commanders and strategists as they are where they kept distinct from the civilian area. So here's connecting the old rule to the modern event of coalition airstrike targeting Baghdad's military hubs and communication centers only. Is the high-tech application of the ancient rule against the ringleaders. The second is through the chapter 16 also about the environmental warfare, where historically classical jurists also discuss that it is ethical and legality of the act to poisoning an enemy's water supply is strictly dilarang.
Forbidden.
Strictly forbidden. But contrast with the Gulf War, where the Iraqi soldier, while they treating, they also put massive oil spills and burning oil wells, to stating that modern weapons causing toxic devastation on a big scale, which ancient scholars couldn't have imagined. The third one is through the chapter 21, between the looting versus spoils of war. During the classical era, it is strictly banned the random theft of civilians' goods during the war. During the raid. So it's only permitting on the highly controlled or the enemy military equipment by the state. So it is strictly abandoned, but in the Gulf War, the chaotic random looting is basically done by the retreating soldiers of the war, which highlighting a direct violation of classical rules and demonstrating the stark difference between this organized free-for-all and the legal capture of state assets. Next is about Russia-Ukraine war.
Okay, now the Russian-Ukraine war case is one of the example how the modern war nowadays violated the Islamic international law itself. Like, there are many belligerency that done by Russia during the invasion in the area like Donetsk, Luhansk, and Kherson. The destruction of structure like access to water, this show the violation. And how can relate it to the chapter 15 about the exchange and the ransom of prisoner of war. This show that Russia and Ukraine, they treat the POW prisoner of war by using the third party like Turkey and Saudi Arabia in this case. This show how it reflects with the chapter 15. And in the chapter 16, it shows that the status of inhabitant in the annexed territory, like in the mention, like Donetsk itself, it taught that in Islamic international law, the status in return can be decided by the country and they give 1 year period. But in this case, Russia, they just invade Ukraine and they manage. How they manage is not as guided in the Islamic in Siyar itself. And the last one is how the treatment. We know that Russia action toward Ukraine, they damage the infrastructure like water, electricity, even that is illegal, but they do it. So it shows that how the Russia-Ukraine war is violated the guide by Siyar. Next one.
That's all. Good.